Savage, starving dog stumbles upon a crying baby. What it does next will break your heart. The winter night hung heavy over Clearwater Forest, moonlight casting long shadows across the blood-stained snow. Steam rose from the abandoned patrol car, its door wide open, radio crackling with unanswered calls. Officer James Miller's final transmission still echoed through the static. Suspect armed. Child in danger. Hunter, protect then silence. 20 yards from the vehicle, a trail of crimson droplets led deeper into the woods. Detective Michael Roberts knelt beside the fallen officer, his weathered face grim as he closed his old friend's eyes one last time. "Where's the dog?" he muttered, scanning the darkness. Hunter, the department's most decorated K-9 officer, was nowhere to be found. 2 months later, the forest had become unrecognizable. Hunter's once powerful frame was now gaunt, his ribs protruding beneath matted fur. Deep scars crossed his face, telling tales of desperate fights for survival. His amber eyes, once bright with purpose, now held the haunted look of an animal driven to the edge. He limped through the underbrush, each step a battle against exhaustion and hunger. The winter had been merciless, and memories of his former life seemed to fade with each passing day. Only his handler's final command remained, burning in his mind: protect the innocent, Hunter. That's what we do. The silence of the forest was broken by a sound that stopped Hunter in his tracks. Faint at first, almost lost in the whisper of wind through bare branches, but unmistakable, a baby's cry. His ears twitched, head turning toward the source. The cry came again, weaker this time, vulnerable. Hunter's body tensed, primal instincts warring with years of training. The hunger that gnawed at his belly urged him to turn away, to continue his search for food. Yet something deeper, something embedded in his very nature, drew him forward. Through the tangle of shadows and branches he found her. A tiny bundle wrapped in a mud-stained blanket, abandoned among the roots of a massive oak. The baby's cries faltered as Hunter approached, her tiny fists waving weakly in the cold air. At that moment, as Hunter stood over the helpless child, the forest seemed to hold its breath. In the distance, a wolf's howl shattered the silence, followed by another, then another. The pack was hunting. Hunter's muscles coiled, his hackles rising as he made his choice. He had failed to protect his handler, but he would not fail again. Not tonight, not this child. The legend of Hunter began long before that fateful night in Clearwater Forest. 6 years earlier, on a crisp autumn morning, a young Belgian Malinois stood proud at the Clearwater Police Department's K-9 graduation ceremony. His amber eyes gleamed with intelligence as Officer James Miller pinned the badge to his new tactical vest. "You're one of us now, buddy," Miller had said, his voice thick with emotion. Hunter wasn't just any police dog. From his first day of training, he showed an extraordinary ability to connect with children. While other K-9s excelled in pursuit or drug detection, Hunter developed a reputation for his gentle yet protective nature when working with young victims. His size and strength could intimidate the most hardened criminals, but he could transform into the gentlest of companions when approaching a frightened child. Officer Miller recognized this unique gift early on. Together, they specialized in cases involving children at risk, missing persons, domestic violence interventions, and rescue operations. Their success rate became legendary within the department. 27 children saved in their first year alone. Each rescue seemed to strengthen the bond between handler and dog, creating a partnership that went far beyond the usual K-9 team. The walls of Miller's office told their story through photographs and commendations. Hunter leading rescuers to a 4-year-old lost in the mountains. Hunter shielding a group of children during a school shooting threat. Hunter gently nuzzling a traumatized toddler until she felt safe enough to leave her hiding place. Each image captured moments where his instincts and training merged into something extraordinary. But it was the Murphy case that made Hunter a household name in Clearwater. On a stormy night when most K-9 units couldn't pick up a scent, Hunter tracked twins Katie and Kevin Murphy through 5 miles of rain-soaked forest. He found them huddled in an abandoned mine shaft, hypothermic but alive. The local paper's headline read, "Hero K-9 defies odds, saves twin children." The success brought attention from police departments across the country. Many offered to buy Hunter for their K-9 units, but Miller wouldn't hear of it. "He's not just a police dog," he would say, "he's family." The truth was, Hunter had become more than that. He was Miller's redemption. Few knew that before Hunter, Miller had lost his own child in a custody battle. His ex-wife moved across the country, taking their daughter with her. The pain of that loss shaped Miller's dedication to helping other children, and in Hunter he found a partner who shared his mission with equal devotion. Their reputation grew, but so did the dangers they faced. Criminal organizations learned to fear the sight of the big Malinois with the distinctive scar above his right eye, a mark from his first rescue, where he'd taken a knife wound protecting a child from an abusive father. That scar became a symbol of his unwavering commitment to protecting the innocent. The bond between Miller and Hunter went beyond the usual handler-canine relationship. They lived together, trained together, and shared every aspect of their lives. Miller's small house became Hunter's home, complete with his own corner filled with toys and a bed he rarely used, preferring to sleep at the foot of Miller's bed instead. In quiet moments between calls, Miller would often find Hunter sitting by the window watching children play in the park across the street. There was something in those amber eyes that seemed to understand the weight of their responsibility. "We're their guardians," Buddy Miller would say. "Sometimes we're all that stands between them and the darkness." Training never stopped. Even on their days off, Miller would run drills with Hunter, keeping his skills sharp. The big dog approached each exercise with the same intensity as a real rescue. His focus never wavered, his determination never faltered. It was as if he understood that any moment of practice could mean the difference between life and death for a child in need. Their reputation spread beyond Clearwater. Neighboring departments would call them in for difficult cases involving children. Hunter's success rate in finding missing kids became almost mythical. It's like he can read their minds. One detective remarked after watching Hunter track a kidnapped girl through a crowded shopping mall following a trail that seemed impossible to detect. But with success came enemies. The darker elements of society began to see Hunter as a threat to their operations. Human traffickers changed their routes to avoid Clearwater. Child abusers learned to fear the sound of his bark. The big dog with the amber eyes became a symbol of hope for the vulnerable and a warning to those who would harm them. Through it all, Miller and Hunter maintained their humble routine. Every morning began with a run through Clearwater Park, followed by breakfast at Miller's small kitchen table where Hunter always had his own place. Every evening ended with a quiet moment on the porch, watching the sun set over their city. These peaceful moments balanced the intensity of their work, keeping them grounded despite the chaos they often faced. They were more than partners, they were guardians of innocence in a world that too often threatened to destroy it. Each rescue, each child saved, reinforced their purpose. Hunter's dedication never wavered, his courage never faltered. He became a living embodiment of protection and hope. But fate had other plans for Hunter and Miller. The darkness they fought against was about to strike back, setting in motion events that would test Hunter's loyalty and courage in ways neither of them could have imagined. The true measure of his character would be revealed not in moments of triumph, but in the depths of loss and the long road to redemption that lay ahead. Sarah Anderson was born into privilege, her first breaths taken in Clearwater Memorial Hospital's most exclusive suite. Her mother, Emma Anderson, was the sole heir to the Anderson real estate empire, and her father, Richard Anderson, came from old money. But wealth, as the Andersons would learn, couldn't protect their precious daughter from the darkness that lurked within their own family. From the moment of her birth, Sarah became the center of a complex web of inheritance and power. Her grandfather, William Anderson Cesar, had built his empire from nothing, transforming Clearwater's skyline with his ambitious developments. Now, in his final years, his announcement to make Sarah his primary heir sent shockwaves through the family. His own son, Richard's brother William Jr., was effectively disinherited. Sarah was oblivious to the storm brewing around her. At 6 months old, she was a bright-eyed baby with her mother's golden curls and her father's deep blue eyes. Her laugh could light up a room, and her gentle nature endeared her to everyone who met her, from the family staff to her pediatrician. Emma spent every moment she could with her daughter, creating a bond that seemed unbreakable. The nursery in the Anderson mansion was a testament to their love. Hand-painted murals decorated the walls, depicting scenes from classic children's stories. A crystal mobile hung above the custom-made crib, casting rainbow patterns across the room when sunlight struck it. Every detail had been carefully chosen to create a perfect world for their perfect child. But beneath the surface of this idyllic life, tensions were building. William Jr., Sarah's uncle, had always expected to inherit the family business. His gambling debts and failed ventures had been overlooked for years, cushioned by his father's wealth. The announcement that everything would pass to Sarah upon William S.R.'s death sent him into a spiral of rage and desperation. Emma noticed the changes in the family dynamics. Heated arguments behind closed doors, suspicious glances at family gatherings, strange phone calls that ended abruptly when she entered her room. She began keeping Sarah closer, her maternal instincts warning her that something wasn't right. The baby's routine became a fortress of protection. Emma insisted on personally handling all of Sarah's care, trusting only a select few members of their household staff. Richard dismissed her concerns as paranoid, but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that her daughter was in danger. She hired additional security, installed new surveillance systems, and rarely left the estate. Sarah thrived despite the tension surrounding her. At 6 months, she was reaching all her developmental milestones early. Her pediatrician remarked that she seemed unusually aware of her surroundings, her big blue eyes tracking movement with remarkable focus. She had her father's determination evident in the way she pushed herself up, trying to crawl before she was ready. The night everything changed started like any other. Emma had just finished Sarah's bedtime routine, a warm bath, a gentle lullaby, and a final feeding. The baby drifted off to sleep in her mother's arms, one tiny hand clutching her favorite stuffed lamb. Emma lingered in the nursery, watching her daughter sleep, unaware that these would be their last moments together. The security footage would later show a figure in black, moving with practiced precision through the mansion's blind spots. The alarm system had been disabled from within. Someone with intimate knowledge of the house's security had orchestrated the kidnapping. Sarah was taken from her crib without a sound, vanishing into the night like a ghost. Emma's scream when she discovered the empty crib shattered the pre-dawn silence. The stuffed lamb lay on the floor, the only testament to the struggle that must have occurred. Richard called the police while Emma collapsed beside the crib, her world crumbling around her. The responding officers found no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints, nothing to indicate how someone had breached their supposedly impenetrable security. The investigation revealed the complexity of Sarah's disappearance. The kidnappers had left no ransom note, suggesting this wasn't about money. Detective Roberts, assigned to the case, immediately suspected an inside job. The precision of the operation, the disabled security systems, the knowledge of the house's layout, everything pointed to someone close to the family. As the hours turned into days, Sarah's disappearance became national news. The Anderson family's wealth and influence ensured maximum media coverage. Emma appeared on television, her face drawn with grief, begging for her daughter's safe return. The reward offered grew to astronomical figures, but no credible leads emerged. The forest where Hunter would eventually find Sarah was never searched. It lay beyond the initial search perimeter, deemed too far for kidnappers to travel undetected. No one imagined that a 6-month-old baby could survive in such harsh conditions, exposed to the elements and wildlife. But Sarah Anderson was no ordinary child, and fate had plans that would intertwine her destiny with that of a wounded warrior who had lost everything except his instinct to protect. In the days following her disappearance, Sarah's absence tore at the fabric of the Anderson family. Emma withdrew into herself, spending hours in the empty nursery. Richard threw himself into the search, leveraging every business contact and calling in every favor. William Jr. made a show of concern while privately meeting with suspicious characters in out-of-the-way locations. The baby's disappearance exposed the fractures in what had appeared to be a perfect family. Old resentments surfaced, accusations flew, and the facade of unity crumbled. Yet through it all, Sarah remained alive, protected by forces no one could have predicted, waiting for a guardian who would risk everything to keep her safe. Clara Thompson wasn't what most people expected from a forest ranger. At 32, with auburn hair often tied in a practical braid and eyes that missed nothing, she carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who knew exactly where they belonged. Before taking the position at Clearwater Forest Service, she had been one of the city's most respected veterinarians, specializing in treating police canines and search and rescue dogs. Her career change had raised eyebrows. Why would a successful vet abandon her practice to patrol the wilderness? Few knew the real reason, the tragedy that had driven her from the city 3 years ago. She had lost a K9 patient during a routine surgery, a devastating event that shattered her confidence. The dog had belonged to Officer James Miller, not Hunter, but a different K9 named Max. The guilt of that loss still haunted her. In the forest, Clara found peace. She knew every trail, every stream, and most importantly, the behaviors of the wildlife that called it home. Her background in veterinary medicine made her uniquely qualified to handle injured animals, and local rangers often called her when they encountered wounded wildlife. She had converted part of her remote cabin into a makeshift clinic, where she treated everything from injured eagles to orphan fawns. Detective Michael Roberts represented the old guard of Clearwater Police Department. At 58, with steel gray hair and a perpetual furrow in his brow, he had seen the city transform from a quiet town to a sprawling urban center. He had worked with James Miller for 20 years, watching his friend's journey from rookie to K9 handler. The loss of Miller hit him hard, and the disappearance of Hunter added another layer to his burden of guilt. Roberts carried his own shadows. Early in his career, he had made a mistake that cost a child's life a wrong turn during a pursuit that ended in tragedy. That error shaped his approach to every case involving children. He became methodical, almost obsessive in his attention to detail. His colleagues respected his thoroughness but whispered about his inability to let go of cases that went cold. The relationship between Clara and Roberts was complex. They had crossed paths during the Max incident, with Roberts defending Clara against those who blamed her for the dog's death. Yet there was tension between them. Roberts couldn't understand her retreat to the forest, while Clara saw his rigid adherence to procedure as part of what was wrong with the city she'd left behind. Emma Anderson added another layer to the story. Unlike the typical wealthy socialite, she had worked her way through law school before marrying into the Anderson family. Her legal background made her a formidable force in the search for her daughter. She refused to be sidelined in the investigation, often clashing with Roberts over his methodical approach when she wanted immediate action. The supporting cast extended to the local community. Tom Baker, the owner of the hardware store who had known Miller since childhood, kept Hunter's photo posted in his window long after others had given up hope. Sarah Martinez, a retired search and rescue coordinator, volunteered countless hours organizing civilian search parties. Even Jack Wilson, the gruff owner of the local diner, contributed by keeping his establishment open late to feed volunteers. The forest itself seemed to be a character, with its dense undergrowth hiding secrets and its changing moods affecting every aspect of the search. Clara understood its language, the way birds fell silent when predators approached, how the wind carried sounds in unexpected ways, and most importantly, how it could both protect and endanger those lost within its bounds. Local media played their part, particularly Diana Chen, a young reporter who refused to let Sarah's story fade from public consciousness. Unlike her colleagues who moved on to newer headlines, Diana kept digging, uncovering connections that others missed. Her persistence would prove crucial as events unfolded. The K9 unit's new handler, Marcus Rivera, brought his own perspective to the search. He had trained under Miller and knew Hunter's capabilities better than most. His insights into Hunter's training and behaviors would become valuable as the search progressed. Rivera never gave up hope that Hunter was alive, often saying, "A dog like that doesn't just disappear. He's out there doing what he was trained to do." The network of relationships extended through every level of Clearwater society. From the highest offices of the Anderson Corporation to the homeless community who kept watch from the shadows, everyone had a stake in finding Sarah. Each person brought their own motivations, their own skills, and their own demons to the search. Dr. Rachel Foster, Sarah's pediatrician, provided crucial information about the baby's medical needs and development. Her detailed records helped focus the search efforts and would later prove vital in understanding how Sarah survived her ordeal. Her medical expertise, combined with Clara's veterinary knowledge, would become instrumental in caring for both Sarah and Hunter. The forest rangers under Clara's supervision formed a tight-knit group, each bringing specialized skills to the search. Mike Tanner's tracking abilities, Lisa Chen's knowledge of local wildlife patterns, and Ben Cooper's expertise in forest survival all played crucial roles. They understood the forest dangers, the wolf packs, the treacherous terrain, the unpredictable weather, and knew that time was running out for a baby exposed to these elements. As winter deepened, these disparate characters would find their lives increasingly intertwined. Each brought their own piece to the puzzle, their own strength to the challenge ahead. The search for Sarah Anderson would test their resolve, challenge their assumptions, and ultimately reveal the true nature of their character. The stage was set for a drama that would change all their lives forever. In the dense forests of Clearwater, where shadows held secrets and hope fought against time, these individuals would discover that sometimes the strongest bonds are forged in the darkest moments. The forest was eerily silent as Hunter followed the faint cry carried on the winter wind. His training kicked in despite his weakened state, head low, ears forward, every sense attuned to his surroundings. The snow had stopped falling, leaving a pristine white blanket that made tracking easier but movement treacherous. Each step was calculated, his injured leg threatening to give way under him. The cry came again, weaker this time. Hunter's pace quickened despite his exhaustion. The sound led him deeper into the forest, past fallen logs and through dense underbrush. His police training had taught him to differentiate between sounds of distress, and this one was unmistakable: an infant in danger. As he approached a massive oak tree, the scent hit him: milk, powder, and something else that made his hackles rise. Blood. Not much, but enough to trigger his protective instincts. There, wedged between two massive roots and partially covered by snow, lay a bundle wrapped in what had once been an expensive blanket. Hunter's approach was cautious. His years of experience with children had taught him the delicacy needed in these situations. The baby's cries had softened to whimpers, tiny fists moving weakly beneath the frost-covered fabric. The blanket bore the monogram Sarah Anderson, though Hunter couldn't read the letters. What he could read was the urgency of the situation. The infant was hypothermic, her normally rosy skin taking on a bluish tinge. Hunter did what instinct and training demanded. He carefully moved closer, using his body heat to warm the child. His nose gently nudged the blanket, checking for injuries. The blood he'd scented was minimal, likely from small scratches. More concerning was the baby's temperature and weakness. As he settled beside Sarah, Hunter's keen senses detected another presence. The forest had gone too quiet. The winter birds had ceased their calling, and the small creatures that usually rustled through the underbrush had fallen silent. He knew this silence; it meant predators. The first wolf appeared at the edge of his vision, a gray shadow moving between the trees. Others followed, their eyes reflecting the dim winter light. Hunter counted 6 in total, a hunting pack driven by hunger to venture this close to human territories. Their approach was calculated, testing his resolve. Despite his exhaustion and injuries, Hunter rose to his full height. His police training had included confrontations with wild animals, but this was different. He wasn't just protecting himself, he was protecting an innocent child. His muscles tensed as he positioned himself between the wolves and Sarah. The lead wolf, a battle-scarred male, made the first move. It lunged forward, testing Hunter's defenses. Hunter met the challenge with a ferocious snarl, his police training evident in the precision of his movement. The wolf retreated, but others began circling, looking for weakness. What followed was a display of courage that would have made Officer Miller proud. Hunter, despite his weakened state, became a fortress. Each time a wolf ventured too close, he drove it back. His bark echoed through the forest, a declaration that this ground would not be surrendered, this child would not be harmed. The battle seemed to last forever. The wolves, driven by winter hunger, were persistent. Hunter's injuries slowed him, but his determination never wavered. He took hits, new wounds adding to his collection, but he didn't yield an inch. Sarah's occasional whimpers seemed to fuel his resolve. As the sun began to set, the temperature dropped further. Hunter knew they couldn't stay in the open. The wolves might retreat temporarily, but they would return. More importantly, Sarah needed warmth and proper shelter. His training kicked in again: assess, plan, execute. The wooden cabin he'd noticed earlier was their best chance. It was about half a mile away, but the journey would be treacherous. Hunter made his decision. With infinite gentleness, he gripped the edge of Sarah's blanket in his teeth. The movement had to be precise. Too rough and he might hurt her, too gentle and he might lose his grip. The wolves followed at a distance as Hunter began his careful retreat. Each step was a challenge, balancing the need for speed with the precious nature of his cargo. Sarah had fallen silent, which worried him. His police training told him silence in an infant could be more concerning than crying. The sky darkened rapidly, bringing with it a bone-chilling cold. Hunter's breath came in visible puffs as he navigated the forest. His injured leg trembled with each step, but he pressed on. The wolves' howls echoed through the trees, reminding him that safety was still far from certain. Every few minutes Hunter would pause, checking on Sarah and surveying their surroundings. His police training had emphasized the importance of constant situational awareness. The wolves weren't the only danger in these woods. The cold, the rough terrain, and the possibility of human threats all had to be considered. As they finally approached the cabin, Hunter's heart sank. The structure was old, partially collapsed on one side, but it was shelter, and right now that was all that mattered. He carefully maneuvered through the broken door, finding a corner that offered the most protection from the elements. Inside, Hunter created a nest for Sarah using his own body heat and what remained of her blanket. His police training in emergency care proved invaluable as he worked to gradually warm her. Too much heat too quickly could be as dangerous as the cold. Throughout the night, he maintained his vigilance, dividing his attention between the baby's needs and the threats that lurked outside. The first night in the cabin tested every limit of Hunter's endurance. His injuries, accumulated over months of survival and the recent wolf encounter, throbbed with increasing intensity. The gash on his flank had reopened during the fight, and dried blood matted his fur. Yet he couldn't rest, not with Sarah's life depending on him. The baby's condition was precarious. Though sheltered from the direct cold, she needed more than Hunter could provide. His police training had included basic first aid, but he had no supplies, no way to properly care for a human infant. Sarah's whimpers had grown weaker, and her skin remained cooler than it should be. Hunter's own hunger became a constant battle. He hadn't eaten properly in days, and the energy expended in the wolf fight had depleted his remaining reserves. His stomach cramped painfully, but hunting meant leaving Sarah unprotected. The choice was clear: he would go hungry. The cabin itself presented numerous challenges. Wind whistled through gaps in the walls, bringing swirls of snow and bitter cold. The roof leaked in several places, creating treacherous patches of ice on the floor. Hunter had positioned Sarah in the driest corner, using his body to shield her from the worst of the drafts, but it wasn't enough. Outside, the wolves hadn't given up. Their howls echoed through the night, sometimes closer, sometimes farther, but always present. They were playing a waiting game, conserving their energy while hunger and cold worked in their favor. Hunter knew their tactics. He'd faced similar situations during his K-9 service, though never with such high stakes. The darkness brought new sounds: branches cracking under the weight of ice, nocturnal creatures moving through the underbrush, and something else that made Hunter's ears prick forward. Human voices, distant but distinct. His training told him to bark to alert potential rescuers, but instinct made him hesitate. Not all humans in these woods would be friendly. Dawn brought temporary relief from the cold, but revealed new problems. Sarah was developing a slight cough, her tiny body fighting against the harsh conditions. She needed milk, warmth, and medical attention. Hunter's police experience had taught him that time was critical in cases involving infants. His own injuries were worsening. The leg that had been injured during his separation from Officer Miller had never properly healed, and the previous day's exertions had aggravated it. Each time he stood, pain shot through his body, but he forced himself to move, to check the perimeter, to ensure Sarah's safety. Water became their most immediate need. Hunter could eat snow if necessary, but Sarah needed proper hydration. He remembered a stream about a quarter-mile from the cabin. He'd passed it while carrying her to safety. But reaching it meant either leaving Sarah alone or risking another journey carrying her through dangerous territory. The decision was made for him when Sarah's cries became more insistent, her little face scrunching in distress. Hunter knew the sound of a thirsty baby from his years of rescue work. Using his nose, he nudged together a makeshift nest of leaves and the remnants of Sarah's blanket, creating the most protected space possible. The journey to the stream was agonizing. Every step away from the cabin felt wrong, his protective instinct screaming at him to return. He moved as quickly as his injuries would allow, constantly scanning for threats. The wolves' tracks were everywhere, their presence a reminder of the danger that lurked in every shadow. At the stream, Hunter found his first piece of luck, an old plastic bottle, dirty but intact. Years of working with human partners had taught him the value of such tools. He managed to fill it, carrying it carefully between his teeth, trying not to spill the precious water. Returning to the cabin, Hunter froze. Something had changed. New tracks in the snow, human boots, leading toward the cabin. His heart raced as he crept closer, water bottle forgotten in the snow. Sarah's cry pierced the air, and Hunter's world narrowed to a single focus. He burst through the cabin door, ready to fight, only to find the intruder had already fled. Nothing seemed disturbed, but Hunter's nose told him otherwise. Someone had been there, close to Sarah. The scent was familiar somehow, triggering memories of his police work, but he couldn't place it. The incident forced Hunter to confront their vulnerability. The cabin, while providing basic shelter, was too exposed. Anyone could find them. The wolves could break through the weakened walls. Sarah needed more than he could provide, but moving her again in her weakened state could be fatal. As if understanding their predicament, Sarah's cries softened to whimpers. Her tiny hand reached out, brushing against Hunter's fur. The touch renewed his determination. They would survive this. They had to. Officer Miller had taught him never to give up on a rescue, and this was the most important rescue of his life. The day wore on, bringing new challenges. Hunter managed to retrieve the water bottle, carefully letting drops fall onto Sarah's lips. It wasn't enough, but it was something. He alternated between warming her with his body heat and patrolling their shelter, each hour a battle against exhaustion, pain, and the growing certainty that they couldn't survive much longer under these conditions. As the second night approached, Hunter faced the most crucial decision of his life. Sarah's condition was deteriorating, her breathing had become labored, and her cries were growing weaker. The cabin, their temporary haven, was becoming a death trap. The temperature continued to drop, and the wolves were growing bolder, their howls closer with each passing hour. Years of police training had taught Hunter to assess situations clinically, weighing risks against potential rewards. Staying meant certain disaster. Sarah needed medical attention, and his own injuries were severely limiting his ability to protect her. Moving meant exposing them both to multiple dangers: the wolves, the cold, the rough terrain, and whoever had left those boot prints in the snow. The decision crystallized when Sarah's whimpers suddenly stopped. Hunter's heart nearly stopped with them until he realized she had merely fallen into an exhausted sleep. But the silence carried a warning: they were running out of time. His police instincts, honed through years of rescue operations, told him that waiting for help was no longer an option. Hunter began planning their escape with military precision. The closest town, by his reckoning, was about 5 miles east. Under normal circumstances, he could cover that distance in less than an hour. But carrying Sarah, avoiding wolves, and managing his injuries would make it a much longer journey. They would need to travel at night when the wolves would be hunting elsewhere, using the darkness as cover. The preparation was methodical. Hunter spent the remaining daylight memorizing Sarah's scent, knowing that if they became separated, his tracking abilities would be their only hope for reunion. He studied the wind direction, knowing it could either mask their scent from predators or betray their position. As dusk approached, Hunter made his final preparations. He nosed Sarah's blanket, arranging it so he could carry her more securely. His injured leg protested every movement, but years of training had taught him to push through pain. The baby stirred but didn't wake as he carefully took the blanket between his teeth. Just before they left, a new sound caught Hunter's attention: vehicles on the distant road. For a moment he hesitated. His training urged him to stay put, wait for rescue. But the memory of those boot prints and the mysterious visitor made him wary. Not everyone searching for Sarah would have her best interests at heart. They slipped out of the cabin just as the first stars appeared. Hunter moved like a shadow, each step carefully placed to minimize noise. Sarah mercifully remained quiet, as if sensing the need for silence. The snow had hardened, making travel easier, but also meaning they would leave clearer tracks. The first mile was the hardest. Hunter's injured leg threatened to buckle with every step, and carrying Sarah required constant adjustments to keep her secure and warm. He chose their path carefully, using the trees for cover, stopping frequently to listen for pursuit. His police training in stealth operations proved invaluable. They encountered their first major obstacle at a steep ravine. Going around would add hours to their journey, but crossing meant exposing themselves on open ground. Hunter's decision was made for him when he caught the scent of wolves approaching from the direction of the detour. They would have to cross. The descent into the ravine was treacherous. Hunter had to distribute his weight carefully, keeping Sarah level while navigating the slippery slope. Each step was a calculation, each pause a battle against exhaustion. At the bottom he found a frozen stream, the ice thin and treacherous. Halfway across the ice, Hunter heard it crack. In one fluid motion, born from countless training exercises, he launched himself forward, clearing the weakened section. The landing sent spikes of pain through his injured leg, but Sarah remained secure and dry. The sound, however, had carried in the still night air. A wolf's howl answered the noise, closer than Hunter had expected. They had been followed. His heart raced as he picked up their pace, knowing that speed now mattered more than stealth. Sarah, jostled by the faster movement, began to whimper. The next 2 miles became a blur of shadow and starlight. Hunter's world narrowed to the essentials: move, listen, adjust, repeat. His police training helped him maintain direction even as exhaustion clouded his thoughts. The wolves kept pace, always just out of sight, waiting for him to make a mistake. As they approached what Hunter estimated to be the 4th mile, he caught a new scent: wood smoke. Somewhere ahead, a fire was burning. It could mean safety, or it could mean greater danger. Sarah's increasing whimpers made the choice for him. She needed warmth and help immediately. The light of the fire became visible through the trees, accompanied by the sound of human voices. Hunter's approach was cautious, years of experience making him wary of strangers. He found a position downwind, allowing him to assess the situation while remaining undetected. What he saw gave him hope: a proper ranger station, lights on inside, a radio antenna visible on the roof. His police training recognized the official vehicle parked outside. This wasn't a random campsite, it was authority, structure, potential safety. Yet Hunter hesitated at the edge of the clearing. His instincts, which had kept them alive this far, warned him to be certain. Sarah's life depended on this decision. He watched the station for nearly 30 minutes, noting the movements inside, the regular radio chatter, the professional behavior of those visible through the windows. Finally, Sarah's cry made the decision inevitable. They needed help, and this was their best chance. Hunter gathered his remaining strength and stepped into the light, still carrying his precious cargo. His appearance caused immediate commotion inside the station, but he stood his ground, protecting Sarah until he could be certain of their rescuer's intentions. The ranger station's floodlights cast harsh shadows across the snow as Hunter approached, still carrying Sarah. Clara Thompson was the first to spot them through the window, her veterinary training immediately recognizing a critically injured animal. But it was the bundle in Hunter's mouth that made her breath catch. It couldn't be the missing Anderson baby, not out here. The station's door burst open and several rangers emerged, their sudden appearance causing Hunter to back away defensively. His police training kicked in: establish a safe perimeter, assess potential threats, protect the principal. Sarah's whimper strengthened his resolve as he maintained distance between them and the approaching humans. Clara recognized the defensive posture and motioned for her colleagues to stop. "Everyone stay back," she commanded, her voice carrying the authority of experience. "That's a police K-9, and he's protecting something." She slowly knelt in the snow, making herself less threatening, and began speaking in the soothing tones she'd used countless times with injured animals. The standoff might have continued indefinitely, but fate had other plans. The wolves that had been stalking Hunter and Sarah chose that moment to launch their attack. They emerged from the darkness like shadows coming alive, their hunger finally overwhelming their caution. The pack had grown, now numbering 8 strong, their eyes reflecting the station's lights with an eerie glow. Hunter's reaction was instantaneous. He placed Sarah gently in the snow, positioning himself between her and the approaching pack. His snarl echoed through the clearing, a sound that made even the hardened rangers step back. This wasn't the warning growl of a domestic dog, this was the battle cry of a warrior preparing for his last stand. The lead wolf, the same battle-scarred male from their previous encounter, made the first move. It lunged for Hunter's injured side, having learned from their earlier fight, but Hunter was ready. Despite his exhaustion, despite his injuries, he met the attack with the precision of his police training. His counterstrike sent the wolf tumbling into the snow. Clara watched in amazement as Hunter fought. His movements, though hampered by injury and fatigue, showed clear tactical training. He never let the wolves flank him, never gave them a clear shot at Sarah. Each attack was met with calculated defense, each retreat used to better position himself for the next assault. The battle escalated quickly. 2 wolves tried to circle behind Hunter while the others kept him engaged from the front. It was a standard pack hunting technique, but they hadn't counted on Hunter's training. He backed toward the station's wall, using it to protect his rear while still maintaining a clear line to Sarah. Blood stained the snow as the fight continued. Hunter took hits, a slash across his shoulder, a bite to his already injured leg, but gave worse than he received. His police training and bite work proved devastating against the wolves, who weren't used to an opponent who knew exactly where and how to strike for maximum effect. Clara had seen enough. While Hunter kept the wolves occupied, she began inching toward Sarah. The baby's cries had weakened, and in the station's lights, Clara could see the bluish tinge to her skin that signaled dangerous hypothermia. They needed to get her inside immediately. Hunter noticed Clara's approach but didn't break his concentration on the wolves. Something in her movement, her careful approach, must have triggered recognition of professional behavior. He adjusted his position slightly, giving her better access to Sarah while still maintaining his defensive line. The wolves, seeing their prey about to escape, launched an all-out assault. 3 attacked simultaneously while others tried to break through toward Sarah. What followed was a display of courage that would become legend in Clearwater Forest. Hunter, running purely on instinct and training now, met the attack head-on. His counterattack was explosive. He caught the first wolf in mid-leap, his powerful jaws clamping down with the force his police training had honed. The sound of the impact made Clara flinch as she scooped up Sarah. The second wolf received a devastating strike from Hunter's paw, while the third found itself thrown off balance by a tactical shoulder check. Clara ran for the station with Sarah, shouting orders to her team. "Get the medical kit. Call for emergency transport. And someone get me a tranquilizer gun. We're not leaving that dog out there." The Rangers mobilized with professional efficiency, their training kicking in despite the chaos. Hunter, seeing Sarah safely inside, found new strength. His next attacks became more aggressive, pushing the wolves back from the station. Each movement was calculated to drive them toward the darkness, away from the building where Sarah was now receiving emergency care. The turning point came when Hunter caught the pack leader in a decisive hold, a technique straight from his police training. The wolf's yelp of pain and retreat broke the pack's resolve. One by one, they melted back into the forest, leaving their leader to limp away alone. Hunter stood his ground until the last wolf disappeared, his legs trembling with exhaustion. Only then did he allow himself to turn toward the station. Clara was waiting in the doorway, medical kit in hand. "It's okay," she called softly. "She's safe. Now let's take care of you." For a moment, Hunter didn't move. His police training warred with his exhaustion and pain, but something in Clara's voice, perhaps her professional tone or genuine concern, reached through his defenses. He took one step toward her, then another, his injured leg finally buckling as he reached the door. Clara caught him before he could fall, her veterinary training allowing her to support his weight without causing additional pain. "I've got you," she whispered as she helped him inside. "You've done enough. You've done so much." Inside the ranger station, Clara worked quickly to assess both her patients. Sarah had been wrapped in warm blankets, her vital signs slowly improving under the careful attention of the emergency medical team that had just arrived. But it was Hunter who worried Clara most. His injuries were severe, and his exhaustion had reached critical levels. "Easy, boy," Clara murmured as she began cleaning his wounds. Her hands moved with practiced efficiency, each touch gentle but purposeful. Hunter watched her intently, his amber eyes never leaving her face. There was something in those eyes that spoke of intelligence far beyond that of a normal dog, an awareness that came from years of professional training. The initial examination revealed the full extent of Hunter's ordeal. Beyond the fresh wounds from the wolf fight, Clara found older injuries that had never properly healed. The leg that had been giving him trouble showed signs of an old break, likely from his separation from Officer Miller. His ribs were visible beneath his matted fur, telling a story of months of near starvation. "You're that missing K9, aren't you?" Clara spoke softly as she worked, her voice carrying the calm assurance that had soothed countless injured animals. "Hunter, James Miller's partner. Everyone thought you were gone." Hunter's ears twitched at his name, and something flickered in his eyes, recognition perhaps, or memory. As Clara cleaned and bandaged his wounds, she noticed something else: the way Hunter kept turning his head toward Sarah, checking on her even through his own treatment. His concern was evident in every movement, every subtle shift of his body. When Sarah cried, his muscles would tense, ready to move despite his injuries. "You protected her," Clara realized aloud. "All this time, through everything, you never stopped being a police dog." She had treated many K-9s in her veterinary practice, but this level of dedication was extraordinary. Hunter had literally fought through hell to keep his charge safe. The emergency medical team worked on Sarah while Clara treated Hunter. They spoke in urgent but hushed tones, discussing hypothermia, dehydration, and the miracle of the baby's survival. Through it all, Hunter remained alert, tracking their movements, his police training evident in his watchful guardian stance despite his exhaustion. Clara's examination continued to reveal the story of Hunter's ordeal. Scars beneath his fur showed countless battles with wolves, with the elements, with whatever threats he'd faced to keep Sarah safe. His paw pads were worn raw from miles of travel through rough terrain, yet he had never abandoned his duty. "You need rest," Clara told him firmly, seeing how he struggled to keep his eyes open. "Sarah is safe now. You can stand down," but Hunter wouldn't relax, wouldn't let his guard down completely. Even as Clara finished bandaging his wounds, he maintained his vigilant watch over Sarah. The bond between dog and baby became even more apparent when the medical team prepared to transport Sarah to the hospital. Hunter tried to stand, his legs trembling with exhaustion. Clara had to gently restrain him. "They're taking her to get proper care," she explained, knowing he couldn't understand the words but hoping her tone would convey the meaning. "You'll see her again, I promise." To everyone's surprise, Sarah began crying when they moved her toward the door, her tiny hands reaching out as if sensing Hunter's distress. The medical team paused, uncertain. Clara made a quick decision. "Wait," she called. "Let him see her before you go." Clara helped Hunter limp to Sarah's side. The baby's cries quieted immediately as Hunter gently nosed her blanket, his inspection thorough but tender. Only then, seeming satisfied that she was truly in good hands, did he allow himself to be led back to his treatment area. As the medical team departed with Sarah, Clara noticed Hunter's demeanor change. The fierce protector who had fought off wolves began to fade, replaced by an exhausted, injured animal who had given everything to complete his mission. His eyes started to close, his body finally succumbing to fatigue. "You did it," Clara whispered, running her hand gently along his neck. "You kept her safe. Now let me keep you safe." Hunter's response was a soft whine, perhaps of acknowledgement, perhaps of relief. For the first time since finding Sarah, he allowed himself to truly rest. Clara stayed with him through the night, monitoring his condition, ensuring his comfort. She had treated countless injured animals, but something about Hunter touched her deeply. Perhaps it was the unwavering loyalty he had shown, or the way he had fought against impossible odds to protect an innocent life. As dawn approached, Clara began making plans. Hunter would need extensive rehabilitation. His injuries were severe, and months of malnutrition had taken their toll. But beyond the physical healing, she recognized something else in him, a spirit that refused to be broken, a dedication to duty that transcended mere training. Word of Hunter's rescue of Sarah spread quickly. By morning, the station was fielding calls from media outlets and police departments. Everyone wanted to know about the heroic K-9 who had emerged from the wilderness to save a missing baby. But Clara focused on what mattered most: helping Hunter heal, giving him the care and respect his courage had earned. The morning after Sarah's rescue brought new complications. Detective Roberts arrived at the ranger station early, his face grim as he surveyed the blood-stained snow outside. The official investigation was about to collide with Hunter's miraculous return, and not everyone was ready to accept a happy ending. "We need to consider all possibilities," Roberts stated flatly, addressing the gathered rangers. "Someone took that baby from a secured mansion. Someone kept her alive out here, and now, conveniently, a dog that disappeared months ago shows up with her." His skepticism was evident, though his eyes betrayed a deeper conflict as he watched Hunter through the station's window. Clara stood her ground, positioning herself between Hunter and the detective. "Look at his injuries," she argued. "Look at how he protected her. This isn't a kidnapper's accomplice, this is a K-9 officer who never stopped doing his duty. Hunter, still weak but alert, watched the exchange with intelligent eyes. The situation grew more tense when William Anderson Jr. arrived, accompanied by his lawyers. His expensive suit looked out of place in the rustic ranger station, but his authority was unmistakable. "That animal needs to be contained," he demanded. "It could be dangerous. Who knows what happened out there?" Hunter's reaction to William Jr. was subtle but clear to Clara's trained eye. The dog's posture changed, his ears flattening slightly, a low rumble building in his chest. It wasn't the aggressive response of a dangerous animal, but rather the alert reaction of a police dog recognizing a potential threat. More vehicles began arriving: animal control, additional police units, media vans. The small ranger station became the center of a growing storm. Through it all, Hunter remained focused on the direction they had taken Sarah, his body tense despite his injuries, his training evident in every controlled movement. William Jr.'s lawyers began presenting their case. The dog could have been involved in the kidnapping. It could have been trained to take the baby. We demand it be held in custody until a full investigation is completed. Their words were measured, professional, but carried an undercurrent of something that made Clara uneasy. Detective Roberts, despite his initial skepticism, found himself in a difficult position. His police experience told him to investigate every angle, but his knowledge of K-9 officers made him doubt the accusations. "Hunter was one of our best," he said quietly. "James Miller trusted him with his life." The tension escalated when animal control officers approached with restraints. Hunter, weak as he was, rose to his feet, his police training visible in his defensive stance. Clara stepped forward, her voice sharp with authority. "This dog needs medical care, not containment. He's evidence of something, all right, evidence of heroism." Emma Anderson's arrival changed the dynamic completely. She burst into the station, having driven straight from the hospital where Sarah was being treated. Her eyes found Hunter and she moved toward him without hesitation. "This dog saved my baby," she declared, her voice breaking. "The doctor said Sarah wouldn't have survived another night out there." Hunter's response to Emma was remarkable. Despite his wariness of the crowd, he allowed her to approach, even lowering his head to accept her touch. Clara watched the interaction carefully, noting how Hunter's behavior reflected his police training: alert but non-threatening, protective but controlled. William Jr.'s face darkened at his sister-in-law's support of Hunter. "You're being emotional," he argued. "We need a proper investigation. That dog could have been involved in Sarah's disappearance from the beginning." His words carried a hint of desperation that caught Detective Roberts' attention. The situation reached a critical point when one of the animal control officers made a move toward Hunter with a catch pole. The reaction was immediate. Clara stepped in front of Hunter, Emma protested loudly, and several rangers moved to intervene. Hunter himself remained surprisingly calm, his training holding despite the provocation. Detective Roberts finally raised his voice above the chaos. "Nobody touches that dog," he commanded. "He's potential evidence, yes, but he's also a former police officer. He'll remain in the custody of." He paused, looking at Clara. "Can you handle him?" Clara nodded firmly. "I'm a qualified veterinarian with experience treating police K-9s. I'll take full responsibility for him." She felt Hunter relax slightly at her words, as if understanding she was offering protection rather than confinement. William Jr. wasn't finished. "This is ridiculous," he sputtered. "That animal could be dangerous. It's been living wild for months. What if it turns on someone? What if it hurts Sarah?" His concern for his niece seemed oddly performative to Clara's observant eye. Emma's response was immediate and fierce. "That dog protected my daughter when everyone else had given up. He fought off wolves to keep her safe. I trust him more than I trust some people in this room." Her gaze fixed pointedly on her brother-in-law. The tension in the room shifted as Emma's words sank in. Detective Roberts studied William Jr.'s reaction carefully, noting the man's discomfort. Hunter, despite his exhaustion, maintained his alert posture, his eyes tracking every movement in the room with professional attention to detail. Clara seized the moment to take control. "Hunter needs rest and medical attention," she stated firmly. "I'm taking him to my clinic. Detective Roberts can post whatever guard he feels necessary, but this dog has earned the right to be treated with respect. Clara's veterinary clinic became the center of two parallel investigations. While Hunter recovered under her care, Detective Roberts began piecing together the puzzle of Sarah's kidnapping. The connection between Hunter's disappearance months ago and his emergence with Sarah couldn't be coincidental. Roberts spent hours reviewing Officer Miller's final case files. The last entry, dated the night of his death, contained a cryptic note following lead reorganized trafficking, possible connection to Anderson Estate. The detective's hands trembled slightly as he read the words. Miller had been onto something bigger than anyone realized. Hunter's wounds told their own story. Clara documented everything meticulously: old injuries, new scars, the evidence of his struggles. Most telling was the partially healed bullet graze on his shoulder, matching the caliber of the weapon that had killed Officer Miller. Hunter had been there that night, had likely witnessed everything. Emma Anderson became a regular visitor to the clinic, bringing Sarah with her. The baby's reaction to Hunter was remarkable. She would calm immediately in his presence, reaching for him with complete trust. Clara noticed how Hunter's behavior changed around them, his police training evident in the way he positioned himself, always alert, always protective. William Jr.'s lawyers continued their campaign against Hunter, demanding he be removed from Clara's care. The dog is a key piece of evidence, they argued. It needs to be in official custody, but their persistence only strengthened Robert's suspicions. Why were they so concerned about a rescued police dog? The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. One of Clara's security cameras caught something curious: a figure lurking outside the clinic late at night, watching Hunter through the windows. The image was grainy, but Roberts recognized the expensive watch on the man's wrist, the same model he'd noticed William Jr. wearing during their interviews. Hunter's reaction to the security footage was telling. When Roberts played it during one of his visits, the dog's posture changed dramatically. His ears flattened, his muscles tensed, and a low growl rumbled in his chest. Clara had learned to read his body language. This wasn't aggression, it was recognition. The investigation took a darker turn when Roberts discovered financial records showing massive withdrawals from William Jr.'s accounts in the days before Sarah's kidnapping. The timing matched payments made to a known criminal organization, the same group Officer Miller had been investigating. Clara continued her own investigation into Hunter's physical condition. The pattern of his injuries, when mapped out chronologically, told the story of his months in the wilderness. But one detail stood out: traces of chemical residue in his fur matched a specific type of sedative, one that had been stolen from a veterinary supplier the night Sarah was taken. Hunter's behavior provided crucial clues. He became agitated whenever certain names were mentioned, particularly during Roberts' discussions of the case. His reaction to William Jr.'s name was especially notable. His police training would have taught him to recognize and remember threats. Emma brought new information as well. She had discovered old emails suggesting William Jr. had been desperately trying to change their father's will before Sarah's birth. The inheritance that would now go to Sarah had originally been promised to him, but his gambling debts and failed businesses had caused their father to reconsider. Roberts spent long hours at the clinic reviewing evidence and observing Hunter. The dog's intelligence and training became increasingly apparent. He would react to specific case photos, names, or locations being discussed, sometimes offering crucial confirmation of Roberts' theories. The investigation expanded to include Officer Miller's last known movements. Security footage from the night of his death showed his patrol car following a suspicious vehicle, a black SUV registered to one of William Jr.'s shell companies. Hunter's ears would perk up whenever Roberts mentioned the vehicle. Clara's documentation of Hunter's recovery process revealed something else. His injuries suggested he had been protecting someone long before finding Sarah. The old defensive wounds, the pattern of healed scratches and bites, all indicated he had been guarding territory in the forest, perhaps knowing instinctively that it would become important. As the pieces came together, Roberts began to understand the full scope of the conspiracy. Officer Miller had stumbled onto a connection between William Jr.'s debts and a trafficking operation. Hunter had been there when they silenced Miller, had somehow escaped despite being wounded, and had spent months surviving in the forest, waiting for a chance to make things right. Clearwater had always been a close-knit community, but Hunter's story divided the town in unexpected ways. Local media coverage ran constantly, with headlines ranging from "Hero K9 Saves Baby" to questions surround mysterious dog's involvement. The diner, hardware store, and local cafes buzzed with heated debates about Hunter's true role in Sarah's disappearance. Tom Baker's hardware store became an unofficial headquarters for Hunter's supporters. The old shopkeeper had known Officer Miller since childhood and refused to believe Hunter could be anything but a hero. He covered his storefront window with newspaper clippings about the rescue and started a collection jar for Hunter's medical expenses. On the other side, a vocal group led by some of William Jr.'s business associates demanded Hunter be removed from Clara's care. They staged small protests outside the clinic, carrying signs questioning the safety of having a wild animal in town. Their arguments focused on Hunter's months in the forest, suggesting he could no longer be trusted. The local police department found itself caught in the middle. Many officers who had worked with Hunter and Miller supported the dog unconditionally. Others, mindful of department politics and the Anderson family's influence, maintained a careful distance. The divide created tension within the force, affecting morale and partnerships. Sarah Martinez, the retired search and rescue coordinator, became one of Hunter's strongest advocates. She organized a group of volunteers to help Clara at the clinic, ensuring someone was always there to assist with Hunter's care and to monitor any suspicious activity. Her experience with working dogs lent credibility to her defense of Hunter's actions. The town's children seemed to understand what many adults couldn't see. They would stop by the clinic's windows, pressing their faces against the glass to catch a glimpse of Hunter. Some brought drawings of him saving Sarah, which Clara hung on the clinic walls. Their innocent belief in his heroism stood in stark contrast to the adult world's suspicions. Local veterinarians rallied behind Clara, offering supplies and support. They understood the significance of Hunter's injuries and his protective behavior toward Sarah. Their professional opinions helped counter the arguments about him being dangerous or unpredictable. Many shared stories of treating police canines, explaining the unique bond these dogs formed with those they protected. The Anderson family's employees found themselves choosing sides. Some, who had worked at the mansion when Sarah was taken, began sharing stories about strange occurrences leading up to the kidnapping. Others, loyal to William Jr., insisted on maintaining their silence, creating a tense atmosphere within the household staff. Religious leaders in the community spoke out, each interpreting Hunter's actions through their own spiritual lens. The local pastor called it a miracle, while others saw it as an example of divine protection working through one of God's creatures. Their sermons and discussions added another layer to the community's processing of events. Jack Wilson's diner became neutral ground where both sides could voice their opinions. The gruff owner maintained order with a simple rule: everyone was entitled to their view, but no arguments were allowed to disturb his customers' meals. The diner's walls soon filled with photos of Hunter, Sarah, and newspaper clippings documenting the unfolding story. Local businesses began taking sides more openly. Some displayed "We Support Hunter" signs in their windows, while others quietly removed themselves from the controversy by taking down all references to the case. The division affected business relationships and friendships that had existed for generations. The schools felt the impact as well. Teachers reported children playing Hunter and Sarah during recess, with some always wanting to be the heroic dog who saved the baby. The story became a teaching moment about loyalty, courage, and not judging others without evidence. Social media amplified the community's divided opinions. Local Facebook groups and Twitter feeds filled with arguments about Hunter's role in the events. Amateur sleuths posted theories and analysis, while others shared personal stories about their interactions with Hunter during his time as a police dog. Emma Anderson's public support of Hunter carried significant weight. Her emotional television interviews describing how Hunter had protected her daughter touched hearts across the community. Her unwavering belief in his innocence made many reconsider their initial suspicions. The local animal shelter reported an increase in dog adoptions, particularly of larger breeds and shepherd types. People seemed inspired by Hunter's loyalty and protective nature, though Clara worried that some might be adopting dogs for the wrong reasons. She worked with the shelter to ensure potential adopters understood the responsibility involved. As winter deepened, the community's division began affecting daily life in subtle ways. People chose which stores to patronize based on their stance on Hunter. Friendships strained as debates grew heated. Yet through it all, those who spent time observing Hunter at the clinic couldn't deny the gentle way he interacted with Sarah during her visits, or his continued alertness when protecting those in his care. At Clara's clinic, Hunter's recovery became a testament to resilience and adaptation. Each day brought small victories, wounds healing, strength returning, trust rebuilding. Clara documented every step of his progress, noting how his police training emerged more clearly as his physical condition improved. The most remarkable transformation occurred during Sarah's daily visits. Hunter's entire demeanor would shift when she arrived, his protective instincts perfectly balanced with gentle awareness. He would position himself to keep both Sarah and the door in his line of sight, maintaining constant vigilance while allowing the baby to grab his fur or lean against him. Clara observed subtle changes in Hunter's behavior patterns. While he remained alert and protective, he began showing more of his personality. Small gestures, a tail wag for familiar visitors, a soft whine when Sarah left, an expectant look at treat time revealed the dog beneath the professional exterior. These moments of normalcy seemed precious, hard-won after months of survival mode. Emma Anderson spent increasing amounts of time at the clinic, often bringing paperwork to review while sitting near Hunter's bed. Her presence had a calming effect on him, perhaps because he sensed her connection to Sarah. She would talk to him softly, sharing her fears and hopes, and Hunter would listen with an attention that suggested understanding. Detective Roberts noticed changes in Hunter's investigative responses. During their sessions reviewing evidence, Hunter's reactions became more precise, more controlled. He could now indicate recognition of people or places without showing aggression, a skill that proved invaluable as they pieced together the conspiracy surrounding Sarah's kidnapping. The healing process wasn't just physical. Clara watched as Hunter worked through his trauma responses. Loud noises that once made him defensive began to bother him less. His nightmares, evident in his twitching and whimpering during sleep, became less frequent. The haunted look in his eyes started to fade, replaced by a quiet confidence. Sarah's development seemed intertwined with Hunter's recovery. As he grew stronger, she became more active, more curious about her surroundings. When she took her first tentative steps at the clinic, Hunter was there, body tense to catch her if she fell. His presence gave her the confidence to explore while ensuring her safety. Clara's own transformation was equally profound. Her decision to protect Hunter had reignited her passion for veterinary work. The guilt she carried over past failures began to lift as she witnessed Hunter's unwavering trust in her care. Each successful treatment, each small improvement, helped rebuild her professional confidence. The bond between Hunter and Clara deepened through their shared dedication to Sarah's safety. They developed a silent communication system, a look, a gesture, a slight change in posture could convey volumes. This connection proved crucial during tense moments when suspicious figures were spotted near the clinic. Hunter's police training began integrating with his new role as Sarah's protector. He learned to distinguish between genuine threats and normal visitors, maintaining his vigilance without causing unnecessary alarm. His responses became more nuanced, showing a sophisticated understanding of various situations. The night terrors that once plagued Hunter began to diminish. Clara would find him sleeping more peacefully, though always positioned to respond quickly if needed. His recovery included learning to rest while staying alert, a crucial skill for a guardian who couldn't afford to fully lower his guard. Emma noticed how Hunter's presence affected Sarah's development. The baby seemed more confident, more secure when he was nearby. Her early words included attempts at his name, and her first clear Hunter brought tears to Emma's eyes. The dog's gentle patience with her attempts to walk, talk, and play demonstrated a deep understanding of her needs. As Hunter's strength returned, Clara began incorporating more structured activities into his routine. Simple training exercises helped rebuild his muscle control while reinforcing his police skills. These sessions often drew an audience of clinic staff and regular visitors, all amazed by his intelligence and precision. The most significant growth appeared in Hunter's ability to trust again. While he remained protective of Sarah and alert to potential threats, he began accepting help from others. He would allow the clinic staff to check his wounds, accept treats from approved visitors, and even play gently with some of the children who came to see him. Clara documented these changes meticulously, understanding their importance not just for Hunter's recovery but for the ongoing investigation. Each sign of his police training emerging through the trauma served as evidence of his true nature and past. His behavioral patterns increasingly matched those documented in his service records, confirming his identity and training. The breakthrough in the case came on a cold Tuesday morning when Detective Roberts arrived at Clara's clinic with a thick file under his arm. His face showed the strain of sleepless nights spent connecting dots that had been staring them in the face all along. Hunter raised his head from his bed near Sarah, immediately alert to the detective's tension. "Look at this." Roberts spread photographs across Clara's desk. They showed William Jr. meeting with known criminals in the weeks before Sarah's kidnapping. More damning were the bank statements showing large withdrawals matching deposits to offshore accounts linked to a trafficking ring. Hunter moved closer, his ears forward as he recognized faces in the photos. Emma Anderson arrived during the discussion, her face pale as she examined the evidence. "There's more," she said, pulling documents from her purse. "I found these in Father's study." The papers revealed William Jr.'s desperate attempts to change the family trust, his mounting gambling debts, and threatening messages from loan sharks. Hunter's reaction to specific names and photos became crucial evidence. When Roberts mentioned certain locations, Hunter would grow agitated, his police training evident in his focused attention. Clara noticed how he responded differently to photos of various suspects, showing recognition of some while remaining neutral to others. The investigation gained momentum when one of William Jr.'s associates broke under questioning. He revealed details about the night of Officer Miller's death, how Miller had stumbled upon their meeting, how Hunter had attacked one of the assailants, giving Miller time to call for backup. The associate's description of Hunter's actions matched the old wounds Clara had documented. Security footage from the Anderson estate revealed more pieces of the puzzle. The cameras had been deliberately turned off the night of Sarah's kidnapping, but only someone with intimate knowledge of the system could have done it. The timing matched William Jr.'s presence in the house, ostensibly for a late-night meeting with his father. Clara's documentation of Hunter's injuries began telling a clearer story. The chemical residue in his fur-matched sedative stolen from a veterinary supplier, the same supplier William Jr.'s shell company had recently acquired. The bullet graze on Hunter's shoulder matched ballistics from Miller's murder scene. The most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. A young groundskeeper at the Anderson estate came forward with a phone recording. He had accidentally captured audio of William Jr. discussing plans to handle the inheritance problem just days before Sarah's disappearance. Hunter's ears perked up at the sound of the voice, his body language confirming the recording's authenticity. Roberts pieced together the timeline. William Jr., facing financial ruin and the loss of his expected inheritance, had contracted with criminals to kidnap Sarah. Officer Miller, investigating the trafficking ring, had gotten too close. The plan had been to eliminate Sarah quietly, making it look like an accident or animal attack in the forest. What no one had counted on was Hunter's survival and dedication. After being shot during Miller's murder, he had somehow tracked the kidnappers into the forest. His months of surviving in the wilderness hadn't been random. He had been patrolling, waiting, protecting the territory where he sensed Sarah might be hidden. Emma's voice shook as she read through the evidence. He was going to kill her. His own niece Hunter moved to her side, offering the same steady presence he gave to Sarah. His police training showed in how he positioned himself, alert but calm, ready to offer comfort or protection as needed. The conspiracy began to collapse as more people came forward. A nurse at the hospital remembered William Jr.'s strange behavior the night Sarah was born. A bank teller recalled unusual transactions. Even William Jr.'s personal assistant finally broke down, providing emails and meeting records that confirmed the worst suspicions. Clara watched as Hunter's behavior changed with each new revelation. His alertness remained sharp, but the tension in his body eased as each piece of evidence brought justice closer. It was as if he understood that his long mission was finally nearing completion, that his protection of Sarah had extended far beyond the forest. Detective Roberts worked methodically to build an airtight case. The evidence trail led from William Jr. through a network of corrupt officials and criminals, all connected to Sarah's kidnapping and Miller's murder. Hunter's presence at the clinic became even more crucial as potential witnesses were brought in, his reactions helping to confirm or deny their statements. The investigation turned dangerous as William Jr. realized his scheme was unraveling. He disappeared from his mansion, leaving behind evidence of hastily destroyed documents. Detective Roberts immediately increased security at Clara's clinic, knowing that Hunter and Sarah were key to exposing the entire conspiracy. Late one night, Clara noticed Hunter's behavior changed dramatically. His ears perked up, body tensed, and a low growl rumbled in his throat. Years of police training kicked in as he moved silently to the clinic's window. Outside, shadows moved against the darkness, figures attempting to disable the security cameras. Roberts had anticipated such a move. Plainclothes officers positioned around the clinic responded instantly, but the intruders were prepared. The sound of gunfire shattered the night's quiet. Hunter's tactical training emerged as he herded Clara and Sarah into the clinic's secure back room, positioning himself between them and the door. Emma Anderson, who had been staying late reviewing evidence, helped Clara barricade the door. Hunter's focused attention alternated between protecting them and listening to the chaos outside. His police experience showed in his controlled responses, alert but not panicked, ready but not aggressive. The attackers breached the clinic's main entrance, but found themselves facing a coordinated police response. In the ensuing chaos, William Jr.'s voice was heard shouting orders he had come personally to silence the witnesses. Hunter's growl deepened at the sound, recognizing the voice from that fatal night months ago. Clara's preparation proved vital. The clinic's reinforced safe room, installed after the first threats emerged, gave them time as the police confronted the intruders. Hunter remained vigilant, his body language communicating each new threat he detected through sound or scent. His presence kept Sarah remarkably calm despite the frightening situation. The confrontation escalated when smoke began seeping under the door. The intruders had started a fire to flush them out. Hunter's training kicked in again as he guided them to the emergency exit Clara had installed. His knowledge of police tactical procedures helped them time their escape between the attackers' movements. Outside, the scene was chaos. Police spotlights cut through smoke and darkness, illuminating figures running between vehicles. Hunter took point, using his body to shield Sarah and the others as they made their way toward the police perimeter. His movements were precise, each step calculated to provide maximum protection. William Jr.'s desperation showed in his reckless actions. He appeared suddenly gun raised, but Hunter was faster. Years of K-9 training combined with months of protective instincts as he launched himself at the threat. His attack was controlled, disabling without killing, the perfect execution of police dog tactics. The confrontation spread through the surrounding streets as William Jr.'s accomplices tried to escape. Hunter's tracking abilities became crucial as he led officers through alleyways and back lots. His focus never wavered from his primary mission, keeping Sarah safe while helping apprehend those who meant her harm. Local residents, awakened by the commotion, became unexpected allies. They turned on lights, opened doors to hiding officers, and reported suspicious movements. The community's division over Hunter dissolved in the face of real danger, replaced by united determination to protect one of their own. Clara and Emma used their knowledge of the clinic's neighborhood to guide police to cut off escape routes. Hunter worked seamlessly with the officers, his previous training making him a valuable asset in the organized response. His actions demonstrated why he had been considered one of the department's top K-9 officers. The turning point came when Hunter tracked William Jr. to an abandoned warehouse. The police surrounded the building, but the situation was complicated by hostages. William Jr. had grabbed 2 clinic workers during the chaos. Hunter's experience in hostage situations became invaluable as he helped officers plan their approach. Throughout the standoff, Hunter's behavior remained professional, controlled. When the order finally came to breach the warehouse, his response was textbook K-9 tactical engagement. He disabled William Jr. without seriously injuring him, protecting the hostages while enabling officers to make a clean arrest. As the situation stabilized, Hunter's attention immediately returned to Sarah. His single-minded focus on her safety had never wavered, even during the heat of confrontation. Clara observed how his police training and protective instincts had merged perfectly, creating a guardian who could handle any threat while never losing sight of his primary duty. The warehouse confrontation wasn't over. As police moved to secure William Jr., one of his associates emerged from the shadows with Sarah, having snatched her during the chaos. The man held the baby precariously, backing toward a fire escape. Hunter's muscles tensed, years of hostage situation training warring with his protective instincts. Clara watched in horror as the scene unfolded. The man was desperate, realizing the conspiracy had collapsed. "Nobody moves, or I drop her," he shouted, already 3 stories up the fire escape. Sarah's cries echoed through the warehouse, each sound driving Hunter's anxiety higher, though his training kept him steady. Detective Roberts tried negotiating, but the situation deteriorated rapidly. The fire escape, weakened by years of neglect, groaned ominously under the man's weight. Sarah's captor grew more agitated, his movements becoming erratic. Hunter's eyes never left Sarah, his body coiled like a spring, calculating distances and angles. Emma Anderson arrived at the scene, her mother's terror evident as she watched her baby suspended so precariously. Hunter's attention split between Sarah and Emma, his training helping him maintain focus despite the emotional intensity. Clara noticed his subtle shift in position, realizing he was preparing for something. The fire escape's mounting protest became impossible to ignore. Metal screamed against metal as bolts began pulling free from the aged brick wall. The kidnapper looked down, panic replacing bravado as he realized his position was literally crumbling. Sarah's cries intensified, her tiny hands reaching out instinctively. Hunter made his decision in a split second. As the fire escape gave way with a thunderous crack, he launched himself up the warehouse wall, using abandoned shelving as a makeshift ladder. His police training in urban pursuit combined with raw protective instinct as he climbed higher, pushing his still healing body to its limits. The kidnapper, realizing his predicament, tried to scramble to safety. In his panic, his grip on Sarah loosened. Time seemed to slow as the baby slipped from his grasp, her cries suddenly silent in the moment of freefall. Clara's heart stopped, Emma screamed, and officers rushed forward helplessly. But Hunter had anticipated this. His calculation had been perfect. He intercepted Sarah's fall at an angle, catching her securely while absorbing the impact against a lower section of shelving. His body curled protectively around her as they tumbled the remaining distance, his training ensuring he took the brunt of the fall. The landing was rough. Hunter's recently healed leg took the worst of it, but he didn't loosen his protective hold on Sarah. She was crying again, a healthy, angry sound that meant she was unharmed. The kidnapper, trying to save himself, lost his grip and fell heavily to the warehouse floor, where waiting officers quickly subdued him. Clara rushed to Hunter's side, her veterinary training taking over as she checked both him and Sarah for injuries. The baby was perfectly fine, protected by Hunter's precise rescue technique. Hunter himself had re-aggravated his old injuries, but his focus remained entirely on Sarah, his body still curved around her protectively. Emma reached them seconds later, gathering Sarah into her arms with tears streaming down her face. Hunter stayed close, despite his obvious pain, his duty not complete until he was certain of Sarah's safety. His training kept him alert, even as exhaustion and injury threatened to overwhelm him. The warehouse erupted in activity, paramedics checking Sarah, officers securing the scene, detectives gathering evidence. Through it all, Hunter maintained his vigilant watch, refusing treatment until Clara convinced him that Sarah was truly safe. Even then, his eyes tracked the baby's movement constantly. Detective Roberts knelt beside Hunter, his gruff exterior cracking as he praised the dog's heroism. "Just like old times, partner," he said softly, remembering similar rescues with Officer Miller. Hunter's tail wagged slightly at the familiar tone, though his attention never fully left Sarah. The scene became a turning point in the community's perception. News cameras captured the aftermath: Hunter's dramatic rescue, his gentle protective behavior, Sarah's obvious comfort in his presence. The debate about his trustworthiness ended that night, replaced by universal recognition of his unwavering dedication. Clara's examination revealed the extent of Hunter's sacrifice. The landing had re-injured his barely healed leg, and new cuts and bruises covered his body. Yet he had executed the rescue flawlessly, his police training and protective instincts combining to save Sarah's life when no one else could have reached her in time. The aftermath of the warehouse rescue brought unforeseen consequences. Hunter's re-injured leg became severely infected, the strain of the rescue having reopened old wounds and introduced new complications. Clara worked tirelessly at her clinic, but the infection proved resistant to standard treatments. Emma brought Sarah to visit daily, the baby's distress at seeing Hunter's condition evident in her constant reaching for him. Despite his pain, Hunter maintained his protective watch, though now he could barely lift his head from his bed. His police training showed even in his weakness always positioning himself to keep Sarah in sight. The turning point came when Hunter stopped eating. Clara's veterinary expertise told her this was critical. His body, already weakened from months in the wilderness and recent injuries, couldn't fight the infection without nutrition. She tried everything, but Hunter's condition continued to deteriorate. Detective Roberts visited frequently, bringing case updates and sitting quietly with his old friend's partner. He shared news of William Jr.'s prosecution, of evidence mounting, of justice being served. Hunter would listen, his ears moving slightly at familiar names, but his strength was clearly fading. The community rallied again, this time bringing specialists from across the country. Veterinarians consulted, offering different treatment options, but the combination of old and new injuries, coupled with the strain of the rescue, had pushed Hunter's body beyond its limits. Each day brought a visible decline. Sarah seemed to understand something was wrong. Her usual happy babbling became subdued during visits, her tiny hands gently patting Hunter's fur. The bond between them remained strong, even as Hunter's physical strength ebbed. His tail would still wag weakly when she arrived, though it took visible effort. Clara barely slept, monitoring Hunter's condition around the clock. She documented every change, every response to treatment, searching desperately for something she might have missed. Her clinical detachment crumbled as she watched the brave dog who had saved so many slowly slipping away. Emma struggled watching Hunter's decline, knowing that Sarah was alive only because of his sacrifice. She brought her father's lawyers in, ensuring that Hunter would have access to any treatment, any specialist, regardless of cost. But money couldn't solve everything. Hunter's body was simply too damaged. The local police department organized a vigil outside the clinic. Officers who had worked with Hunter and Miller stood watch, sharing stories of their former K-9 colleagues' achievements. The community joined in, bringing flowers, cards, and photos of Hunter with Sarah, creating a memorial wall. Tom Baker from the hardware store arrived one morning with a handcrafted wooden bed for Hunter, lined with the softest blankets he could find. He shouldn't have to lie on a clinic bed, the old man said gruffly, tears in his eyes. Hunter managed to wag his tail slightly in recognition of the kind gesture. Detective Roberts discovered something that made the situation even more poignant: evidence that during his months in the wilderness, Hunter had been watching over the area where Sarah would eventually be hidden. Somehow he had known, had prepared, had waited patiently to fulfill his final mission. Clara noticed that even in his weakened state, Hunter maintained his training. He would try to sit up during Sarah's visits, attempting to maintain his protective stance. His police instincts remained sharp, his ears moving toward any unusual sound, his body trying to respond despite its failures. The infection spread despite aggressive treatment. Clara found herself facing the possibility that she couldn't save him. The thought was unbearable after everything Hunter had survived. After his incredible rescue of Sarah, to lose him to complications seemed cruelly unfair. Sarah's visits became the only thing that sparked life in Hunter's eyes. He would watch her play on the clinic floor, his tail moving slightly when she laughed. Though he could no longer physically protect her, his dedication never wavered. His training and instincts remained intact, even as his body failed. The community's mood darkened as news of Hunter's condition spread. People gathered outside the clinic, holding candlelight vigils, praying for a miracle. The division that had once split the town was gone, replaced by united concern for the hero who had sacrificed everything to protect an innocent child. While Hunter fought for his life, a new threat emerged from an unexpected direction. One of the clinic's trusted staff members, David Chen, was discovered secretly communicating with William Jr.'s legal team. Clara found emails on the clinic's computer suggesting he had been tampering with Hunter's treatment, deliberately slowing his recovery. The betrayal cut deep. Chen had been part of Hunter's care team from the beginning, had witnessed the dog's heroism firsthand. His actions were calculated small changes to medication dosages accidentally, missing treatment times, all while documenting false progress reports that painted Hunter's condition as hopeless. Detective Roberts was furious when the evidence came to light. Chen's interference hadn't just hindered Hunter's recovery, it had actively contributed to his deteriorating condition. The infection that threatened Hunter's life might have been manageable if properly treated from the start. More disturbing were the large deposits found in Chen's bank account, traced back to William Jr.'s associates. Clara blamed herself for not noticing sooner. She reviewed Hunter's charts obsessively, finding subtle discrepancies that should have raised red flags. The realization that someone she'd trusted had deliberately harmed Hunter, especially after everything he'd survived, shook her confidence in her ability to protect him. Emma Anderson took the news particularly hard. She had trusted Chen, had even confided in him about her fears for Hunter's recovery. The betrayal felt personal, an attack not just on Hunter but on Sarah's protector. Her lawyers immediately moved to press charges, determined to add another layer to William Jr.'s prosecution. The clinic staff was devastated. Many had worked closely with Chen, had trusted his expertise and dedication. Now they questioned every interaction, wondering if they had missed signs of his deception. The atmosphere of healing that Clara had worked so hard to create was poisoned by suspicion and guilt. Hunter, despite his weakened state, had shown signs of distrust toward Chen in recent weeks. His police training had detected something the humans had missed: subtle changes in Chen's behavior, perhaps his scent or body language. Even while fighting for his life, Hunter's instincts had remained sharp. The investigation revealed Chen's motives went beyond money. He had a gambling debt to the same people who had financed William Jr.'s schemes. His betrayal had been orchestrated months ago, a backup plan in case Hunter survived to testify about what he had witnessed. By sabotaging the dog's recovery, Chen had hoped to eliminate a key witness. Local media exploded with the revelation. The community's anger was palpable. Chen had not only betrayed Hunter but had attacked a symbol of loyalty and protection that the town had come to cherish. Protests formed outside the jail where Chen was held, demanding justice for their wounded hero. Clara's reputation came under scrutiny as well. Though she had discovered Chen's deception, questions arose about her oversight of the clinic. Some suggested she had been too focused on Hunter's care to notice the betrayal happening under her nose. The criticism added to her already heavy burden of guilt. The most painful aspect was explaining the situation to Sarah. Though too young to understand fully, she sensed the tension and became distressed during visits. Hunter, even in his weakened state, would try to comfort her, his protective instincts overriding his own suffering. The sight brought tears to even the most hardened officer's eyes. Detective Roberts worked tirelessly to document the extent of Chen's sabotage. Each piece of evidence revealed new layers of betrayal: altered medical records, deliberately contaminated medication, systematic efforts to undermine Hunter's recovery while maintaining an appearance of dedicated care. Sarah's grandfather, William Anderson S.R., finally broke his public silence. His statement to the press was scathing, condemning not just Chen's actions but the entire conspiracy that had targeted his granddaughter. His influence ensured that no expense would be spared in bringing all responsible parties to justice. Clara faced her own crisis of confidence. The betrayal forced her to reevaluate every aspect of her practice, every decision she had made in Hunter's care. The weight of responsibility, combined with the knowledge that she had trusted someone who had actively worked to harm her patient, threatened to overwhelm her. The impact on Hunter's care was immediate and severe. New security measures were implemented at the clinic, with police officers volunteering to guard Hunter during their off-duty hours. Every treatment had to be verified by multiple staff members, creating delays that Hunter's fragile condition could ill afford. The night everything nearly ended began with a storm. Wind howled through Clearwater streets as Hunter's condition reached its critical point. The infection, exacerbated by Chen's sabotage, had spread despite Clara's desperate efforts to save him. The clinic's atmosphere was heavy with the sense that they were losing their hero. Sarah had been unusually fussy during her last visit, as if sensing the gravity of the situation. Hunter had tried to lift his head when she cried, his police training still compelling him to respond to distress, but his strength had finally failed him. Emma held her daughter close, watching helplessly as the dog who had saved them both slipped further away. Clara hadn't slept in days, working frantically to reverse the damage from Chen's betrayal. Her hands shook as she administered antibiotics, knowing they might be too late. The specialists she had consulted offered little hope. Hunter's body, already pushed beyond its limits by months of survival and his final heroic rescue, was shutting down. Detective Roberts maintained his vigil in the clinic's waiting room, his weathered face showing the strain of watching another partner fade away. The parallels to Officer Miller's death were uncomfortably clear once again. He was powerless to help, forced to watch as corruption and cruelty claimed another victim. The storm intensified as midnight approached. Thunder rattled the clinic's windows and the power flickered ominously. Clara's emergency generator hummed to life, but the temporary loss of electricity had disrupted Hunter's monitoring equipment. Those few seconds of darkness seemed to mark a turning point in his decline. Emma received an urgent call from the hospital. Sarah had developed a high fever, possibly a reaction to the stress of recent events. She was torn between staying with Hunter and rushing to her daughter. Hunter, even in his near-unconscious state, seemed to sense her dilemma. His tail moved weakly, a gesture Clara interpreted as permission to go. The night grew darker as Hunter's breathing became more labored. Clara checked his vital signs every few minutes, each reading worse than the last. The infection had reached his heart, the poison spreading through his system faster than the medications could fight it. His remarkable journey from loyal police dog to wilderness survivor to Sarah's guardian appeared to be reaching its end. Outside the clinic, the community maintained its vigil despite the storm. People huddled under umbrellas, sharing stories of Hunter's bravery, praying for a miracle. News of his condition had spread beyond Clearwater, drawing attention from national media. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see if this hero's story would end in tragedy. Clara found herself talking to Hunter as she worked, reminiscing about their time together, begging him not to give up. She recalled the moment he had appeared at the ranger station with Sarah, his unwavering dedication despite his injuries, his gentle patience during the baby's visits. Each memory felt like a weight on her heart. Detective Roberts finally broke down, his professional demeanor cracking as he watched Hunter struggle. He spoke about Officer Miller, about the night everything had changed, about the guilt he carried for not being there when his friends needed him. Hunter's ears twitched slightly at Miller's name, a ghost of his former alertness. The storm reached its peak around 2 a.m. Lightning illuminated the clinic in harsh bursts, thunder following so closely it shook the building. Hunter's monitors began showing critical warnings. His heart was failing, his body too weak to continue fighting. Clara prepared emergency medications, though she knew they were likely futile. Emma called from the hospital with updates about Sarah, her voice breaking as she described her daughter's distress. The baby seemed to sense Hunter's condition, crying his name between fever-induced whimpers. The bond between them, forged in the wilderness and strengthened through months of recovery, remained unbroken even at this darkest moment. Clara made the difficult decision to stop most treatments, focusing only on keeping Hunter comfortable. Her clinical experience told her it was time to let go, but her heart rebelled against the idea. This dog had survived so much, had given everything to protect an innocent child. His loss would leave a void no one could fill. The community's vigil grew as news of Hunter's critical condition spread. Police officers in full dress uniform stood at attention outside the clinic, honoring their fallen comrade. Local children added their drawings to the memorial wall, pictures showing Hunter as they saw him a hero, a protector, a friend. In the early hours before dawn, Hunter's breathing became increasingly irregular. Clara sat beside him, one hand on his chest, feeling each labored breath. Detective Roberts maintained his post nearby, while the storm gradually subsided outside. The darkness before sunrise seemed to reflect the heaviness in their hearts. Dawn brought unexpected hope in the form of a weather-worn package delivered by a local hiker. The man had found it buried near where Hunter had first discovered Sarah, protected from the elements in a waterproof container. Inside was Officer Miller's final report, preserved through months of rain and snow, waiting to be found. Detective Roberts' hands trembled as he read through Miller's detailed notes. The officer had documented everything: meetings between William Jr. and known criminals, suspicious financial transactions, and most importantly, conversations about changing Sarah's inheritance. Miller had known he was onto something big, something that might cost him his life. More crucial was a micro SD card tucked into the package's lining. It contained audio recordings from the night Miller died, captured by his body camera. The sound quality was poor, but Hunter's barks could be clearly heard, along with Miller's final command: protect the innocent boy. Don't let him win. The recording revealed something else: Chin's voice in the background of Miller's final moments. He had been involved from the beginning, planted in the clinic specifically to monitor Hunter if he survived. The betrayal ran deeper than anyone had realized, part of a carefully orchestrated plan that had begun months before Sarah's kidnapping. Clara was reviewing the evidence when she noticed something in Hunter's old blood work: trace elements that suggested he had been repeatedly exposed to the same sedative used in Sarah's kidnapping. He hadn't just witnessed the crime, he had been tracking the kidnappers through the forest, following the chemical trail they didn't know they were leaving. Emma arrived at the clinic with more revelations. Sarah's fever had broken after the doctors found an unusual residue on her blanket, the same chemical compound Hunter had been tracking. Her clothing from the night of her rescue contained traces that matched samples from multiple locations in the forest, creating a map of the kidnappers' movements. The evidence painted a remarkable picture of Hunter's time in the wilderness. He had been systematically patrolling the forest, using his police training to monitor known criminal locations. The seemingly random pattern of his movements, documented by hunters and hikers over months, now revealed a deliberate search grid. Detective Roberts brought in forensic experts who confirmed what Hunter had somehow known: Sarah had been kept in multiple locations throughout the forest, moved regularly to avoid detection. Each site showed signs of Hunter's presence, suggesting he had been watching, waiting for the right moment to rescue her. The most damning evidence came from William Jr.'s own security system. The cameras he thought had been disabled had actually been rerouting their feeds to a secret server, recording everything. The footage showed him discussing Hunter with Chin, planning how to silence the one witness who could connect all the pieces. Clara's medical records proved crucial as well. Her detailed documentation of Hunter's injuries, combined with the new evidence, created a timeline of his actions. Each wound told a story: battles with wolves, encounters with kidnappers, the constant fight to survive while maintaining his vigil over Sarah's various hiding places. The local hunting community came forward with their own evidence: trail camera footage showing Hunter tracking armed men through the forest, always keeping his distance but never losing them. His police training had allowed him to surveil the suspects without being detected, gathering intelligence like a seasoned undercover officer. Emma discovered old emails between William Jr. and Chin discussing Hunter's original disappearance. They had assumed the dog had died from his wounds, never imagining he would survive to become Sarah's guardian. Their overconfidence had led them to keep records they should have destroyed, creating a trail of evidence that now threatened their entire operation. The forest itself offered up its secrets. Rangers found caches of supplies Hunter had apparently gathered: food scraps, water bottles, even a torn piece of Sarah's blanket he had somehow obtained. He had been preparing for her rescue long before finding her, his police training evident in the systematic way he had organized his resources. Sarah's doctors contributed another piece to the puzzle. Their analysis of her remarkable survival showed she had been kept warm by something before Hunter found her: the same type of material that lined his old police vest. The remnants of the vest were later found in one of his forest caches, suggesting he had somehow known it would be needed. As the evidence mounted, Hunter's condition remained critical. But each new revelation seemed to strengthen his will to live, as if knowing his mission was finally being understood gave him renewed purpose. His vital signs, though still dangerous, stabilized enough for Clara to begin aggressive new treatments. The revelation of Officer Miller's evidence transformed Clearwater's mood from grief to determined action. As Hunter fought for his life, the community mobilized in ways no one could have predicted. Tom Baker's hardware store became an impromptu command center, coordinating efforts to support both the investigation and Hunter's recovery. Retired K-9 handlers from across the country began arriving in Clearwater, drawn by the story of Hunter's dedication. They brought their expertise and experience, working with Clara to develop new treatment approaches. Their understanding of police dogs' unique physical and psychological needs proved invaluable in adjusting Hunter's care. Local restaurants organized meal deliveries for the clinic staff and volunteers. Jack Wilson's diner ran 24 hours a day, feeding the constant stream of people helping with the investigation or maintaining vigil outside the clinic. The smell of coffee and fresh food became a constant reminder of the community's support. Children from Clearwater Elementary created a massive get-well card for Hunter, filled with drawings and messages. Their teacher, Mrs. Thompson, used Hunter's story to teach lessons about loyalty, courage, and never giving up. The school's morning announcements included daily updates on Hunter's condition, keeping hope alive in young hearts. Sarah Martinez put her search and rescue experience to use, organizing teams to scour the forest for additional evidence. Her volunteers found more of Hunter's caches, each discovery adding to their understanding of his months-long mission. The systematic way he had prepared for Sarah's rescue spoke to both his training and intelligence. The local veterinary community rallied around Clara. Specialists offered their services free of charge, while supply companies donated medications and equipment. The clinic transformed into a state-of-the-art facility, giving Hunter access to treatments that might have been impossible in a small town. Emma Anderson's legal team worked pro bono, coordinating with Detective Roberts to process the flood of new evidence. They set up a hotline for tips and information, which quickly became overwhelmed with calls from people who had spotted Hunter during his time in the forest. Each sighting helped complete the picture of his dedicated surveillance. The police department's K-9 unit organized a benefit, raising funds for both Hunter's care and a foundation in Officer Miller's name. Current and retired officers shared stories of working with Miller and Hunter, painting a picture of an exceptional partnership that had continued even after Miller's death. Local media played a crucial role, with Diana Chen leading responsible coverage of Hunter's story. Her articles focused on facts rather than sensation, helping to maintain public support while avoiding interference with the ongoing investigation. Her piece, titled "Guardian in the Shadows," became a rallying cry for the community. The town's religious communities united in their support, holding interfaith services praying for Hunter's recovery. The sight of different congregations coming together touched even the most cynical observers. The message was clear: Hunter's dedication had transcended all divisions, inspiring unity in his fight for survival. Citizens volunteered their professional skills. Construction workers repaired and upgraded the clinic's facilities. Its specialists enhanced security systems. Artists created murals celebrating Hunter's heroism. Even local florists kept the clinic filled with fresh flowers, brightening the atmosphere for staff and visitors. Sarah's recovery became intertwined with Hunter's in the public consciousness. When Emma brought her to the clinic, community members would gather outside, their presence a quiet show of support for both the baby who had survived and the dog who had saved her. Their bond became a symbol of hope and resilience. The Anderson estate, once a symbol of privilege and isolation, opened its gates to support the cause. William Cesar authorized the use of his private medical facilities and equipment for Hunter's treatment. The mansion's grounds became a gathering place for volunteers coordinating search efforts for additional evidence. Local businesses displayed "We Stand with Hunter" signs in their windows. The town's main street became a testament to community solidarity, with blue ribbons the color of police K-9 units decorating every lamppost. Each ribbon bore a tag with a different quality Hunter had demonstrated: loyalty, courage, perseverance. Perhaps most moving was the response from other K-9 units. Police dogs and their handlers visited the clinic, creating a constant honor guard. Their presence seemed to lift Hunter's spirits, his police training responding to the familiar sight of uniformed officers and working dogs. Each visit brought a small but noticeable improvement in his condition. The confrontation culminated during William Jr.'s bail hearing. Despite Hunter's critical condition, Clara had brought him to the courthouse under medical supervision. His presence was deemed crucial as new evidence was presented. Though weak, Hunter maintained his alertness, his police training evident in his focused attention on the proceedings. The courtroom fell silent as Officer Miller's final recordings played. William Jr.'s face drained of color as his own voice echoed through the speakers, discussing plans for Sarah's kidnapping. Hunter's ears perked up at the familiar voices, his body tensing despite his weakness. His reaction did not go unnoticed by the judge. Emma cradled Sarah protectively as Detective Roberts presented the evidence of Chen's long-term involvement. The betrayal had begun years earlier, with Chen being planted in veterinary school specifically to gain credentials for this operation. Hunter's suspicious behavior toward Chen now made perfect sense. His training had detected the deception from the start. William Jr.'s composure cracked when presented with the timeline of Hunter's forest surveillance. The dog had not only survived the attempt on his life but had systematically monitored the criminal operation for months. Each cache location, each patrol route, demonstrated a level of intelligence and dedication that destroyed the defense's arguments. The prosecution's masterstroke came when they revealed Hunter's old police vest, recovered from one of his forest hideouts. The material matched fibers found on Sarah's clothing, proving he had been preparing for her rescue long before finding her. His police training had enabled him to plan and execute a long-term protective operation. William Jr. finally broke under the weight of evidence. Rising from his seat, he began a furious confession that quickly turned into threats. As he moved aggressively toward Emma and Sarah, Hunter summoned strength no one thought he still possessed. Despite his critical condition, he positioned himself between the threat and those he had sworn to protect. The moment was electric. Hunter, barely able to stand face down his would-be killer with unwavering determination. His police training took over: no growling, no aggressive display, just the steady, professional presence of a K-9 officer performing his duty. William Jr. froze, confronted by the living embodiment of the loyalty he had betrayed. Security officers moved to restrain William Jr., but the damage was done. His outburst and Hunter's response destroyed any remaining doubt about the true nature of events. The judge's expression hardened as she ordered him held without bail. Even his own lawyers seemed relieved to be done with the case. Chen, watching from the defendant's area, attempted to make a break for freedom in the ensuing chaos. Despite his weakened state, Hunter tracked his movement, alerting officers with a sharp bark. His police training enabled him to coordinate with courthouse security, helping to prevent Chen's escape without leaving his protective position near Sarah. The aftermath was swift. William Jr.'s conspiracy unraveled completely as his associates rushed to make deals. The evidence Hunter had gathered during his months in the forest proved crucial in dismantling the entire criminal network. His patient surveillance had documented not just Sarah's kidnapping, but numerous other crimes. Clara watched proudly as Hunter maintained his dignified bearing throughout the proceedings, though she could see the effort it cost him. His commitment to duty never wavered, even as his body struggled to keep up with his spirit. The courthouse demonstration of his training and dedication became the final proof of his true nature. The judge took the unprecedented step of addressing Hunter directly in her ruling. She spoke of loyalty, courage, and the unbreakable bond between an officer and his duty. Hunter stood at attention despite his weakness, responding to the formal tone if not the specific words. His police training showed in every aspect of his bearing. As William Jr. was led away in handcuffs, he made one final, venomous comment about Hunter being just a dog. Emma's response rang through the courtroom: "He's not just a dog, he's a better man than you'll ever be." Hunter's tail wagged slightly at her voice, though his eyes never left the prisoner until he was out of sight. The courtroom erupted in applause as the judge announced her decision. William Jr. and his conspirators would face the maximum penalties for their crimes. Hunter's evidence had not only secured justice for Sarah, but had exposed and eliminated a dangerous criminal organization. When it was over, Hunter finally allowed his exhaustion to show. He leaned against Clara for support as they left the courthouse, but his eyes remained alert, still watching over Sarah. His mission was complete. Justice had been served, but his sense of duty remained undiminished. The days following the trial marked a turning point in Hunter's recovery. Whether it was the release of tension after William Jr.'s conviction or the expert care he received, his condition began to improve dramatically. Clara noticed the change first. His eyes regained their alertness, his appetite returned, and his wounds finally started healing properly. Emma and Sarah became permanent fixtures at the clinic during Hunter's recovery. Sarah's presence seemed to accelerate his healing. Her laughter and growing mobility gave him purpose. His police training adapted to his new role, shifting from protection to gentle guidance as Sarah took her first wobbling steps under his watchful gaze. The Anderson family formally adopted Hunter, though he split his time between their home and Clara's clinic. Emma insisted on converting part of the mansion's ground floor into a special suite for him, complete with direct access to the gardens and a clear view of Sarah's nursery. His police training proved invaluable as he seamlessly integrated into the household security routine. Detective Roberts arranged for Hunter's official reinstatement to the police force with a special designation as a community service K-9, This allowed him to continue his protective duties while also participating in public education programs. Children would visit the mansion to learn about loyalty, courage, and the special bond between humans and dogs. Clara's clinic transformed into a specialized facility for working dogs, with Hunter as its unofficial mascot. His story attracted K9 handlers from across the country seeking treatment for their partners. Hunter would often sit in on examinations, his presence calming nervous dogs and demonstrating remarkable empathy for injured officers. The community's support never wavered. Tom Baker installed special ramps throughout his hardware store to make it easier for Hunter to visit. Jack's Diner created Hunter's Corner, a special area where police dogs and their handlers could rest during their shifts. The town embraced its hero, understanding that his recovery was part of their own healing. Sarah's development became intertwined with Hunter's daily routine. He was there for every milestone: first words, first steps, first ventures into the garden. His protective instincts remained sharp, but tempered with the gentle patience that had helped him guide her through their forest ordeal. Their bond deepened into something that amazed even experienced K9 handlers. The forest where their story began became a protected area with markers showing Hunter's surveillance routes and cache locations. Rangers led educational tours, teaching visitors about survival, loyalty, and the remarkable intelligence of working dogs. Hunter would sometimes accompany these tours, his presence adding powerful authenticity to the lessons. Emma established the Hunter Miller Foundation, dedicated to supporting K9 units and their handlers. The foundation provided funding for equipment, training, and medical care for police dogs. Hunter attended fundraising events, his dignified bearing and gentle interaction with supporters embodying the noble qualities the foundation sought to promote. Clara documented Hunter's recovery process in a series of papers that revolutionized the treatment of traumatized working dogs. His case demonstrated how police training could persist through extreme conditions, and how that training could adapt to new circumstances without losing its core purpose. Veterinary schools began including his story in their curriculum. The Anderson Mansion security team incorporated lessons learned from Hunter's forest surveillance techniques into their protocols. His methodical approach to protection, proven effective through months of solitary operation, became a model for K9 units nationwide. Even in retirement, he continued teaching through example. As his strength returned, Hunter began accompanying Sarah on supervised visits to children's hospitals. His gentle patience with sick children, combined with his impressive bearing as a police dog, brought comfort and inspiration to young patients. The visits helped heal emotional wounds in the community while reinforcing the power of unconditional love. William S.R. made Hunter the official guardian of the Anderson estate, a position that came with both ceremonial and practical responsibilities. The dog, who had once been branded a dangerous stray, now commanded respect in the highest social circles, though he remained most content in Sarah's company or working with Clara at the clinic. Detective Roberts ensured that Hunter's service record reflected his time in the forest as active duty, making him the most decorated K9 officer in department history. The recognition mattered less to Hunter than the opportunity to continue serving, but it helped secure resources for future K9 programs. As spring returned to Clearwater, Hunter could often be seen patrolling the mansion's gardens with Sarah toddling beside him, both of them healthy and happy. His remarkable journey from police dog to wilderness survivor to beloved guardian had changed not just their lives, but the entire community's understanding of loyalty, courage, and love. The transformation of Clearwater following Hunter's recovery became a story in itself. The once divided town found unity in supporting not just Hunter and Sarah, but all working dogs and their handlers. The police department's K9 unit expanded, with new training facilities built using donations from grateful citizens. Hunter's role evolved beyond his original police duties. While he maintained his protective instincts and training, he developed an almost therapeutic presence. Children with trauma or anxiety would visit him at the clinic, finding comfort in his patient understanding. His ability to calm frightened children became legendary among local counselors and therapists. Clara's veterinary practice underwent its own transformation. Her experience with Hunter led to developing new protocols for treating injured service dogs. She worked closely with police departments and military units, sharing insights gained from Hunter's remarkable recovery. The clinic became a center of excellence for working dog rehabilitation. Emma watched her daughter blossom under Hunter's guardianship. Sarah, now a confident toddler, showed remarkable empathy for animals. Her early trauma seemed transformed by Hunter's presence into something positive, a deep understanding of the bond between humans and their protectors. She became an ambassador for her age group at K9 demonstrations. The Anderson Mansion changed from a symbol of wealth and privilege to a community hub. The gardens where Hunter patrolled became accessible for educational programs. School groups would visit to learn about working dogs, while Hunter demonstrated the skills that had helped him survive and protect Sarah. His dignified bearing and gentle interaction with visitors made him a natural teacher. Detective Roberts found his own transformation through Hunter's story. The cynicism born from years of police work softened as he watched the dog he had once doubted become a symbol of hope. He began mentoring new K9 handlers, sharing lessons learned from both Miller and Hunter about the true meaning of partnership. The forest trails where Hunter had maintained his solitary vigil became known as the Guardian's Path. Rangers developed educational programs around his survival strategies, teaching visitors about dedication and resourcefulness. Hunter would occasionally accompany these tours, his presence adding living testimony to the remarkable story. Local businesses transformed their attitudes toward service animals. Led by Tom Baker's example, shops and restaurants became more accommodating to working dogs. Hunter's welcome signs appeared in windows throughout town, indicating safe spaces for handlers and their partners to rest during long shifts. The legal community experienced its own evolution. The detailed evidence of Hunter's forest surveillance changed how animal intelligence was viewed in investigations. His methodical preparation and protection of Sarah became a case study in animal behavior and intent. Law enforcement agencies began incorporating these insights into their K9 training programs. Sarah's early development showed the profound impact of her time with Hunter. She displayed unusual poise for her age, along with a deep connection to animals. Child development experts studied their interaction, noting how Hunter's protective presence had transformed potential trauma into extraordinary emotional intelligence. The mansion's security team underwent a complete overhaul, incorporating lessons from Hunter's forest tactics. His systematic approach to surveillance and protection became part of their standard protocol. Even as he aged, Hunter continued participating in training sessions, demonstrating techniques that had proven effective during his solitary mission. Clara's professional reputation soared as she published papers on Hunter's recovery. Her insights into the rehabilitation of traumatized working dogs transformed veterinary practices nationwide. She became a sought-after speaker at conferences, always insisting that Hunter accompany her to demonstrate their findings. The community's appreciation for service animals deepened beyond simple admiration. Citizens began understanding the complex training and dedication required of working dogs. Local schools incorporated units on responsible pet ownership and animal welfare, using Hunter's story to illustrate the profound bonds possible between humans and animals. The Hunter Miller Foundation expanded its mission to include support for retired service dogs. Programs were developed to help handlers care for their partners after active duty, ensuring that loyal servants would never be forgotten. Hunter's presence at Foundation events served as a powerful reminder of the ongoing need for such support. As Clearwater transformed, Hunter remained its humble center. Despite his fame and accolades, he never deviated from his core mission, protecting Sarah and serving his community. His dignified bearing and unwavering dedication continued inspiring all who met him, a living example of how loyalty and courage could transform lives. Hunter's legacy took root in Clearwater in ways both large and small. The once simple police K9 unit expanded into a nationally recognized training center, where handlers learned not just standard procedures but the deeper lessons of Hunter's story, unwavering dedication, adaptive intelligence, and the power of the bond between handler and dog. Sarah's growth became part of that legacy. As she entered school, her unique experience shaped her into a natural advocate for animal welfare. Her childhood memories, though dim, of Hunter's protection in the forest manifested in a deep understanding of animal behavior. Teachers noted how other children were drawn to her gentle confidence, a trait she attributed to her four-legged guardian. Clara's veterinary clinic evolved into the Hunter Center for Working Dog Medicine. The protocols developed during Hunter's recovery became standard practice nationwide. Handlers brought their partners from across the country, knowing they would find understanding of the special needs of service dogs. Hunter himself remained a constant presence, offering silent support to his injured colleagues. The Anderson Mansion's grounds, once private and exclusive, transformed into the Miller Hunter K9 Training Academy. The forest paths where Hunter had maintained his solitary vigil became training grounds for new K9 units. His methodical approach to surveillance and protection was studied and replicated, creating a new generation of more effective service dogs. Detective Roberts ensured that Hunter's story became part of police academy training. Beyond the tactical lessons of his forest survival, cadets learned about the deeper aspects of service: the unwavering loyalty, the ability to adapt while maintaining core mission focus, and the power of trust between partners. Local schools instituted the Hunter Award for Exceptional Service, presented annually to students who demonstrated extraordinary dedication to helping others. The criteria were based on Hunter's qualities: persistence in the face of adversity, protection of the vulnerable, and quiet courage without seeking recognition. The Hunter Miller Foundation expanded beyond supporting K9 units to establish sanctuary facilities for retired service dogs. These peaceful havens ensured that dogs who had given everything to protect others would never face neglect or abandonment in their golden years. Hunter often visited, his dignified presence inspiring continued support. Emma Anderson's legal team used Hunter's case to establish new precedents in animal welfare law. His demonstrated intelligence and purposeful actions during Sarah's protection helped reshape legal understanding of animal cognition. The Hunter Standard became shorthand for recognizing the sophisticated capabilities of working dogs. The town's annual Guardians Day celebration became a national event, drawing K9 units and their supporters from across the country. The festival combined demonstrations of working dog skills with education about responsible animal care. Hunter presided over these gatherings with characteristic dignity, his mere presence lending authenticity to the proceedings. Clara's research papers on Hunter's recovery and adaptation became required reading in veterinary schools. His case study illustrated not just physical rehabilitation techniques, but the importance of understanding the psychological aspects of working dog care. The Hunter Protocol became synonymous with comprehensive K9 medical treatment. The forest trails where Hunter had protected Sarah were preserved as the Guardian's Heritage Park. Educational plaques marked significant locations: his surveillance points, cache sites, and the place where he had finally found Sarah. Rangers used these trails to teach visitors about dedication, resourcefulness, and the unbreakable bond between protector and protected. Sarah's continued connection with Hunter influenced her choice of future career. As she grew, her early experiences shaped her understanding of both animal behavior and human psychology. Her unique perspective, formed in those crucial early days under Hunter's protection, promised to influence future generations of animal welfare advocates. Through all these changes, Hunter maintained his original purpose: protecting Sarah and serving his community. Even as he aged, his bearing remained dignified, his attention focused, his dedication unwavering. He became living proof that true service transcends training, that loyalty survives all challenges, and that courage wears many forms. The legacy of a single dog's devotion changed countless lives, reshaping how an entire community understood service, sacrifice, and unconditional love. In Clearwater, every working dog that followed would walk in Hunter's paw prints, carrying forward his example of quiet courage and unwavering dedication. As years passed, Hunter's story continued inspiring new generations. Children grew up learning about the dog who had survived alone in the forest, never forgetting his duty, never abandoning his mission. His legacy lived on in every K9 officer who answered the call to serve, in every therapy dog who comforted the frightened, and in every human who understood that true loyalty knows no bounds. Thank you for experiencing this touching story of loyalty, courage, and unwavering dedication. If Hunter's journey moved you as much as it moved us, please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. What touched you most about his story? Which moment brought tears to your eyes? Support our team by subscribing to the channel for more heartwarming tales of extraordinary animals and the lives they change. Every subscription helps us continue bringing these inspiring stories to light. Share this video with family and friends who appreciate the profound bond between humans and animals. Don't forget to hit the like button if you believe in the power of unconditional love and courage. Join our growing community of animal lovers and help us spread stories that remind us of the extraordinary capacity for loyalty and sacrifice in our four-legged friends.